So Adam, help me out here. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, okay. I think you were playing a show with Clark, and then a couple of other people at the showcase in like 2017, 2018, and we sort of became friends. I think through our connection with Clark, and then eventually we just kept talking and stuff. And finally, the following year, we did a two tenor show. That was our first tenor show at Constellation. Is that right?
Sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think just from there, we just kind of became fast friends, and yeah, and then let's see, the pandemic hit, and then through there, so somehow or another, the idea of doing co-leading a group came up, and I think that probably happened during the pandemic, 21 or 22, somewhere in there, and yeah, that the rest is history, I guess.
So this new album, the Trust Fund album, is your sophomore release. The first one, which we kind of touched on before. Um, to talk to me a little bit about this follow-up. What what was kind of the approach based on the debut that you guys put together? What were you going for with this?
I mean, I'll speak to it and then kick over to Chris. I think that we had the luxury of putting out a record the first time around, doing a couple different smaller tours around it and playing the material. And I think Chris and I looked at each other in October and like, man, let's play some new tunes. Let's write some new things. And I think both of us have a lot of projects, a lot of irons in the fire going at all times. So I think it was a matter of trying to dedicating some time to putting a new record together. It's very hard to get the five musicians that are on that album in the same room for more than a couple of days at a time. So I think the impetus is always just to make music at a high level with friends, and that's where it's hard to do. You can make music at a high level with people you don't like. Sometimes you can make music at a low level with people you don't like, but to make music at a high level with people that you like is kind of like a luxury. So um, and Chris and I are both writers. We write a lot. It's kind of, I feel like we're kindred spirits in the fact that our writing is a part of our identity as musicians. So the cool thing about this band in particular, especially for this record, is that everybody contributed. You know, um, and the first record, everybody we had a composition for everybody, but Scott, and so to have everybody on this record bring their own individual thing to the table uh, is great. And I we do so much band leading. I would say I do like 95% band leading. So to play other people's music is actually kind of a nice reprieve. I don't have to be in my head as much as I would be, on my own stuff. So that's probably going all over the place to the initial questions. I'm sorry I can't be more succinct, but hopefully get some context to some of the music.
No. That's the way it is. Yeah, I totally dig it. What about you, Chris? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I think he pretty much covered it. I mean, honestly, it was sort of the first record was that we made. We just came together so easily, and one or two takes per tune that we figured, hey, I mean, we might as well move on. I think, like Adam said, we had been playing that material for a while, and it was starting not to get stale, but we were starting to become really used to it. And so we kind of wanted to mix things up, and then definitely have an album where everyone contributed something, at least one, to really make it feel like a collaborative um, group project. I mean, I think the group is interesting because Adam and I are the co-leaders, but it's really a collective, and especially with this second album, the fact that everyone's contributing compositions to it, it just feels more like a collective, sort of a five-way collective instead of just Adam and I sort of dictating what happens. It's we're still sort of mostly in charge of the logistical parts of the band, but artistically, yeah, it's very much sort of a collaborative five-way thing.
And the one thing too is that Adam, you've been really good about bringing together this fusion of Chicago and Kansas City together. And it's indicative of the shows and it's indicative of the creative output. How is that collaboration between these two big cities that are very busy and very full of creative individuals? How has that added to this sound? How has that created this signature sound?
Hmm.
I mean, for me, it's been one of the best joys of living here is introducing some of the great musicians here to other parts of the world. I mean, I've taken kids, to John Kizilarmut to New York and New Hampshire, all places on tour of the Midwest, and I feel like for Kansas City, sometimes the team maybe gets overlooked. You think of New York being obviously the place where all of it happens, but Chicago, in my mind, is a very close second. And then you think about LA for certain things, but it's like, the depth of musician here is not nothing. The Rolodex doesn't go as deep as those cities, but it's pretty deep, in the first 3 or 4 people that you have on each instrument. So for me, I always want to try to, again, it goes back to the idea of friends. It's like, I think when you're in your 30s and your 40s, you don't have a million friends. You have like four, you know, and you hold them close. And if they happen to be great musicians, you try to create opportunities to have a meeting of the minds. And I had some trepidation. Anytime you introduce somebody to another great musician, that's kind of like you're putting yourself out there too. And Clark in particular is the first musician that I introduced John to. And Clark has played with every great drummer under the sun, like everybody. There's not a drummer that he hasn't played with. So I was like, man, I hope it works out. Within the first 2 notes, I was like, oh, thank God it worked out. And now I think you can hear in the music and the hangs. It's like there's not another group of 5 people, that I would rather be on the road with. So for me, it's been just a joy to continue to try to slowly, as it makes sense musically and economically and all that, to like, here's what Kansas City has to offer, and that's how I see it. So I'd be curious to see what Chris has to say about it.
Yeah, I think the same is kind of true in the inverse for Scott. Is that not right, Adam? You hadn't met Scott, or maybe just very briefly
Correct.
or something.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So Adam he brought Kiz to the table, and then Clark and I brought Scott to the table, and we have a really, I mean, I think the initial genesis of the group was supposed to be basically a Chicago rhythm section and me, and then Adam would be the only Kansas City contingent. But we actually ended up having John join as well, and so it's really almost, it's as close as you can get to being sort of both Chicago and Kansas City. And those, I mean, Adam's totally right. I think in every scene um there are some fantastic players that might get overlooked by in a national sense, but someone like John Kizilarmut is just such a treasure. I mean, he's just like and he has an amazingly creative and unique approach to the instrument, and he is. I can't imagine the group without. The group would just have a 100% completely different dynamic if it was a different drummer. And I guess that goes for everyone on every instrument, of course. But yeah, I was very happy that we were able to introduce people to the group that not all of us were familiar with, but we've really become fast friends, and we have a really vibrant text chain with lots of memes and lots of jokes, and we get along famously with each other. We're just really happy with the dynamic of the group too.
Speaking of John and that collaborative spirit of jazz, which I think is unique, is you guys are always there's always a plenitude of things going on in your lives. So last night I was invited to go see the rehearsal, and John was at it for the Kansas City Jazz Orchestra, and Bobby Watson and Deborah Brown are there. And I've never, in all of these years of doing this, I always feel like when I get around you guys, because I'm not a native musician, I feel like I've been dropped on another planet. I'm watching something unfold. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Because I don't read music. You guys are all talking an A and E and F and all these things. I just hear things sonically and I love it and I feel it. But I'm in there and I'm watching this unfold. And my point of this is that you guys are so good about interchanging with each other and just falling into it. And my question to you is this: how does that work for you guys? You guys just get into a room, you just start in, and then you guys record at a pretty rapid pace. It's like you guys hop from project to project and it's seamless. And I guess my question is, from my perspective, I saw all the work behind the scenes that most people don't, but you guys make it sound so good and seem so easy. How does that acumen get built as a jazz musician over time, which clearly you guys have done in this group?
Hmm. Yeah, I think that there's something really beautiful and unique about jazz specifically. There's just something about it that makes it so that you can function in lots of different types of environments. And what you do, a lot of what we devote ourselves to in practice, is getting ready for potential situations like that. It's just being ready to play in whatever key at whatever tempo with a different type of, a rhythmic feel based on what's going on underneath you. And yeah, it's just something. I think it's a testament to the music itself, to the style, the genre, that it is so malleable, and you can just put disparate people together, and something magical could happen if everyone is listening and open, and ready to receive those musical messages from each other. So yeah, I think it's just kind of, that's one of the it might sound corny, but that's one of the beauties of jazz, honestly.
Yeah, I would just add to that that I think that the reason in this particular band that things work so well like that, is that they're obviously the homework has been done, right? There's a certain level of prerequisite that has to be taken care of individually. I think that in jazz, Chris and I both teach quite a bit, and we go after these tropes of like we have, you have to listen, and jazz is conversation and dialogue, and it's hard to have a handle on that if you don't do all the requisite homework to be able to put yourself in a position to do that. So when you do that and you get in the room with five people who are doing that at all very high level, it also there's a whole thing about ego that has to be kind of checked at the door. It's like nobody in his band is like trying to play their hot licks because they want to do it for themselves. You know what I mean? It's like actually we're all trying to get out of each other's way so we can make the most music, and that doesn't always happen. That's why I cherish this group a lot, because the chemistry is such that nobody feels the need to play anything other than what's musical, and that's very rare. I mean, Chris and I can probably both admit to being on gigs at some points in our life where it's like the defense mechanism is just like I'm gonna shred right through it. You know what I mean? And like that's one way of playing music, but it's not the deepest way. And so I think if you listen to John play with Deborah Brown and Bobby Watson, he's going to take everything he knows about music and apply that level of musicianship. And it may mean that he's not playing even 1/10 of what he's capable, but he's playing 110% of what the music requires. And like, so if you're playing services of music, that's that's the best thing you can ever be hoping for. And that's why the idea of a band, think even historically, it's like the band, like there are no, I mean, there's not none of them, but there's a lot less bands you can just walk into and have that kind of like luxury of the chemistry and building and being on the road. I mean, to be on the road for 5 days as this quintet took 10 months of preparation, so it's like, trying to figure that out. It's like, it's just, all that to say, I think that to be able to do the listening that Chris is describing, it requires a lot of trust, and requisite homework, and also acceptance that, there may be something that's like, for instance, Chris writes more open-ended tunes than I typically play. And like when I first got the tunes in the first record, I was terrified. I was like, oh, I'm not, it's like big nope, I'm not gonna solo on that one. I'll play the melody and I'll just like I'll pass it. But I'm actually most proud. Sounds weird to say, and I hope it doesn't sound arrogant, but I'm most proud of the solo on the first record on the tune of his called This Is Water, because there are no changes. Time is very flexible. And when I first got the song, I was like, man, I'm going to sound like trash on this, and I don't know if I sound any less like trash, but I'm happy with the way the way I played on it. So, and that kind of goes everything you're saying. We can get in the room and have trust, and that's kind of a beautiful place to be drawing from. So.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned, which I think is the hallmark of the jazz community, is that you check your ego in at the door. Bobby was the last person to enter the room, but he was like totally one of the dudes. Like there was no like I just keep looking up there and I'm like, my God, this he's a legendary figure. I mean, and he happens to be in Kansas City, but this is a guy that's been around all of the cats, and he can totally blow anything out of the room if he wants to. But he's just up there and he's collaborating and he's doing his thing, and there's just this genteel spirit. So I guess my point I'm trying to make is that I always get the idea that the elders always pass on this notion of being humble, checking your ego at the door, and just coming together because you love this music. You're creating a music and an idiom that you guys have dedicated your lives to, and the end product is making an album like you guys have made, something that sonically feels good to the listener.
Yeah, I think that Bobby is a great example. I don't know Bobby personally. I mean, I know some of his recordings and I know his reputation and everything, but we haven't had the I haven't had the pleasure of meeting him. But Bobby is just really known as the embodiment of that selfless spirit, and I'll say, not all musicians, just like people and their
Right.
individual personalities, not all musicians are like that. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of musicians are to, just like what Adam was saying, they want to bloviate and shred and kind of, throw their weight around and things like that. And I think just like, you try to surround yourself with people who are positive and contribute to a positive energy. It's the same with music. You want to surround yourself with those people who, like in this band, are able to function in a selfless manner. And so we're just really happy to have hit the sort of sweet spot in this band in terms of the musicianship and the personal interactions. It's really nice and really makes the music very, as first challenging as the music is, it feels easy when you're playing it with people like that.
So the one thing that people are going to get if they physically get this, which I'm all for getting this because I love listening to music in the car and I love seeing the artwork. This is very unique artwork. It's a very unique name for the album. So before we really move on into what live shows are coming up and how people can get the album, talk to me a little bit about how the album title came up and this very attractive artwork that's on the cover.
So I'll give this a shot real quick. I mean, the album title is one of the titles of John's tune. John is one of the funniest people I think we've ever met in our lives, and I say, hey Clark,
Hey,
and
buddy.
there's a certain level of I don't know. I think he just like trust fund Tinder Goblins Howling at the Moon is a way he described an audience at a certain club one time, and I thought, like I think if we just go with that as the title, we might actually get a lot of attention. And lo and behold, like we posted that, and people were like, this is the best title ever, or so on and so
Yes.
forth. So, and I think our artist, Chris uses an artist named Spencer. I can't remember his last name. You can help me out on this, Chris, but in Chicago, and we got a couple renderings back, and I'm like, man, this one for me is it, kind of like a knee jerk, like that's the one.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I'll
Yeah.
put myself on mute and help my little guy out here for 1 second.
I love it when kids and animals come in the view. I love the
Yeah,
impromptu nature of it. It's like jazz, man. It's good.
It
for
is.
sure. Okay.
Yeah, just to the artist's name is Spencer Porter, and just to make sure I get his bona fides out there, that he's the real deal because his middle name is Cole, so he has like the name Cole Porter
Oh yeah.
embedded within his name. So he used to live here in Chicago. Now I think he lives in the New York area. But yeah, he's very quick and very creative, and he's like, he always comes out to shows, and he's very supportive, and just he's one of the cats. He just kind of hangs out with everybody and makes himself available. So he's a really cool guy.
Right on. So if anyone wants to pick up this album, the best place to get it physically and to learn more about what you guys are doing to pick up the previous album, where's the best place to go?
Well, ideally, they should come see us live.
Exactly.
And then pick up the album there. But other than that, it is available on Adam's website for pre-order. And I think, Adam, can you tell me it goes? When does the pre-order stop?
So pre-orders will stop probably like mid-June. The record officially comes out on June 28th, and but yeah, it's available right now. And yeah, as Chris said, coming to a show would be the best way. We're going to be celebrating the release of the record at the Green Mill in Chicago, June 28th and 29th. And you know me, Joe. You know me, Chris. I'm already trying to scheme up a way to get to Kansas City because it seems like it would be apropos to do it. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. And I will make sure to put up dates in the liner notes, and we'll get this going here. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you for the music. Thank you for your time. Keep doing good work, man.
Hey, Joe, thank you. Thanks for having us, man. We appreciate it.
You got it, man. See you guys. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.